So I guess Disney released a trailer for Snow White, or a short teaser trailer. And oh boy folks, everybody's roasting it. And the movie's not coming out till March, but I don't see any chance of it succeeding. I don't know if anyone out there thinks this movie's gonna make money. Now the trailer itself, I'm not gonna bother playing it, there's really not much in there. It's just a bunch of shots of Snow White and the evil queen and some animals in the forest, things like that. There's some singing. Yeah, there's really nothing in there. But this movie's been a bit of a PR disaster for Disney, and why is that? Well, Disney made an animated Snow White movie, a good 80 years ago now. And it's a classic, a lot of people love it. As I remember, the evil queen discovers from the mirror that she's no longer the fairest in all the land, and so she goes after Snow White. She wants Snow White gone. Snow White flees, runs into a forest, stumbles upon a cottage. 7 dwarves find her, and she lives with them. The evil queen finds out she's there, and she disguises herself. She makes a poisoned apple, gives it to Snow White. Snow White eats it, and then Snow White is ended. But then the prince comes along, gives her a kiss, and then she comes back, and they live happily ever after. Yeah, I'm sure you already know that. I mean, it's not exactly the same as the original German fairy tale, but casual audiences, they love the movie, and they view it as a classic. So Disney, they're going to make a live-action remake of Snow White, and let's just say that fans were not happy to discover that this remake looks like it's going to be a little different from the original. And fans of the original Snow White, they find that the woman starring as Snow White in the live-action remake, Rachel Zegler, she's kind of an unlikable individual. Let's see what she once had to say about the original Snow White.
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Yeah, and after making repeated comments like this, the Snow White movie became a PR nightmare for Disney, with a ton of fan backlash, and audiences not liking the direction that they're going to be taking with Snow White, with this new live-action remake for Snow White, where essentially they're going to be modernizing it, or quote-unquote updating it for modern audiences. They're going to be taking it, turning it into a platform. They're going to be making it woke. They're going to be injecting feminism into it. In the original Snow White, she was saved by a prince. She was rescued by a man, in other words, and that is unacceptable by today's standards. It's not politically correct. We can't have that. Snow White needs to be a strong woman girl boss because modern writing dictates that every female character needs to be a strong woman girl boss. So yeah, fans were not happy when they found out that Disney apparently was going to be changing Snow White. So then late last year, sometime right before Halloween, Disney announced they were delaying the movie by a full year. The reason given for the 1-year delay is the actors' strikes that were happening at the time, which, I mean, that certainly could be true. But coincidentally, Disney was also going through a PR nightmare with this movie and the reception for the direction it's going to be taking, and for how unlikable a lot of people were finding the star for this movie. They say the actors' strikes was the reason for the delay, but the fact that there was also a bit of a PR disaster around this movie, I think that had to have been a factor in it too. I think Disney had to have been kind of panicking behind closed doors, because after Rachel Zegler made it known that they were going to be modernizing Snow White, fans were overwhelmingly unhappy with that. And then recently we got rumored that Disney's been trying to make massive changes to the movie, doing reshoots, and all this in wake of the poor reception, the PR nightmare, the backlash. There was rumor that Disney wanted to bring in a child actress for Snow White in order to kind of cut down Rachel Zegler's screen time because people do not like her. And Disney did this in an attempt to make Snow White a bit more likable. Rumor is that Disney tried to more closely align the film to the original animated feature-length film while still allowing Rachel Zegler to have a pro-feminist message, albeit one that is softer and less militant. And that Disney, they still wanted the movie to be woke, but they wanted to make it quote-unquote soft woke in order to still make money but avoid major controversies. And again, this is all rumor, but just a year or two ago we were hearing from Rachel Zegler herself and Gal Gadot that basically Disney was going to be really going woke with Snow White. They were really going to be pushing feminism into it. It was going to be turned into a platform basically. That sparks a PR nightmare for Disney. They announced that they're delaying the movie by a full year a couple months or so later. And then we get rumor here that Disney is trying to tone down the woke messaging in the movie. And again, this is a rumor, but I think there's a real good chance that this rumor's true. And according to the rumor, the budget for this movie, production budget, it's at almost $400 million now. That is enormous, folks. I mean, even if Disney is trying to tone down the woke messaging and they do manage to get a good number of casual fans to go to the movie, fans who haven't really been paying attention to all the stuff Rachel Zegler said, this production budget, nearly $400 million if this is true, that gives the movie little chance of being able to turn up any kind of profit. I was thinking that if this movie were to make any money, Disney would need a lot of people to forget about all the controversy around the film. They would have to hope that a lot of fans forget about all the stuff Rachel Zegler said insulting the original Snow White, calling the prince a stalker, saying that the film is dated. Disney would have to hope that a lot of people have at least softened their stance on all the controversy. Well, Disney just released their first teaser trailer for Snow White, and again, I'm not going to play it. There's really not that much in it. But I will say the trailer really didn't have any kind of woke messaging in it or anything like that. There's nothing in there that makes it very clear that they're going to be pushing any agendas or that they're going to be modernizing it. From what I saw, it's just singing and a bunch of shots of animals and the evil queen and Snow White and that kind of stuff. There's not really much in there. But let's look at the comments. If I were the prince, I'd rescue Gal Gadot from this movie. Please let the evil queen win. This time Snow White is the villain. No dwarves were hired during the making of this film. She had skin as white as the freshly fallen snow, her lips were as red as blood, and her hair was as black as ebony. Yeah, that's another little controversy. They kind of race swapped Snow White. Snow White is a German fairy tale, one of the Grimm fairy tales, and they cast Rachel Zegler, who's a Colombian actress, for this. Shrek has more respect for Snow White than Disney does. Comment section is more entertaining than the trailer. Yeah, I agree. Queen, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of all? Mirror, it's you actually. Queen, oh? Well, nice, I guess. No Germanic people were hired to represent a German story tale in this film. Yeah, I could go on and on reading the comments, but if you look at this, the reception, it is overwhelmingly negative. Before this trailer came out, I was pretty sure this movie was going to flop. I think most people are pretty sure it's going to flop. But I also thought if Disney is toning down their messaging and they can get enough casual fans to go see the movie, and if Disney can get enough people to kind of forget about what Rachel Zegler said, or get enough people to soften their stance on the stuff she said, then maybe Disney has a bit of a chance of breaking even on this movie. And again, rumor is that their budget is nearly $400 million now, so their chances of breaking even on this movie, they are very small. But when I look at the reception for this trailer, a trailer that really didn't have any messaging in it, I look and the reception is unanimously negative. It's pretty clear that nope, nobody's forgotten about all the controversy around this movie. Nobody's forgotten about how unlikable Rachel Zegler is. Yeah, I think we can call this movie dead on arrival. It's gonna flop, it's gonna lose money, and it'll be another message sent to Disney to just make fun, family-friendly movies. Stop putting messages in your movies. Stop making your content woke. Stop turning these stories into platforms. Stop lecturing your audience. If you just entertain your audience, you'll make money. But if you decide to lecture them, if you decide to get woke, then you're gonna go broke. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you next time. Take care until then.